Patrick Combs had exactly $200 in his bank account when he found a way to legally walk away with nearly $100,000 from a major bank without breaking a single law. This wasn't a heist, and he wasn't a hacker. He was just a guy in San Francisco who decided to call a giant corporation's bluff. Started when he opened a piece of junk mail, the kind we all throw away, and found a sample check for $95,093.35. Most people would have laughed at the get-rich-quick scheme and tossed it. But Patrick was feeling playful. He noticed something weird. The check didn't say void, and it didn't say non-negotiable in a way that actually mattered. It looked, for all intents and purposes, like a real document. So he walked over to an ATM, stuck the junk mail inside, and hit deposit. He figured the bank's computer would flag it, a human would see the joke, and that would be the end of it. He even endorsed the back with a smiley face, just to make the prank obvious. Then the impossible happened. 10 days later, he checked his balance, and the numbers staring back at him were life-changing. The check had cleared. Suddenly, the broke guy with $200 was a near millionaire. But here's the part that'll make your heart race. Patrick knew the bank would eventually realize their mistake. He waited for the phone call, the freeze on his account, or the police at his door. But nothing happened. Days turned into weeks. He started digging into the law and discovered a massive loophole called the midnight deadline. Under the Uniform Commercial Code, a bank generally has until midnight of the next business day to reject a check. If they miss that window, they've legally accepted the funds. First Interstate Bank had missed that window by a mile. Legally, that money was now his. To prove his point, he didn't just leave the numbers on a screen. He went into the bank and demanded a cashier's check for the full amount. A cashier's check is as good as gold. It's the bank's own money. When the teller handed it over, Patrick's world exploded. He went from a prankster to a man holding a ticking financial time bomb. He locked the check in a safe deposit box and stayed awake at night, wondering if he was a hero for beating the system or a thief for keeping what wasn't his. The bank eventually woke up, and they didn't come with an apology. They came with threats. They froze his account, his ATM card was eaten by the machine, and a security officer demanded to drill open his safe deposit box. But Patrick stood his ground. He wasn't a criminal. He was a guy who played by their rules and won. The media picked up the scent, and soon he was the most famous man in America. On the day the world was glued to their TVs for the O.J. Simpson verdict, Patrick walked into the bank alone and handed the money back. No lawsuit, no settlement, just a guy returning a joke that got way too real. He later turned the saga into a legendary one-man show called Man One, Bank Zero. It's a wild reminder that while you might be able to outsmart the machine, you still have to live with the man in the mirror.